Welcome, everybody, to this very special meeting of Lima Toastmasters Club. Today is May 22nd, 2025, and we are here as we in the United States will be observing Memorial Day this coming Monday. It's only appropriate that we, as our fellow Toastmasters, come to memorialize not only a veteran, but also a fellow Toastmaster, a dear, dear friend. And it's great to see such a showing for the support of our recently departed fellow Toastmaster, Jim Plunkett. And for this meeting, we've decided to set aside the normal agenda and take this time as we're recording to have a lasting memory of Jim Plunkett and what he meant to this club. So I want to welcome everybody, particularly especially our guests who maybe have stopped by the meeting once or twice and just have that memory of Jim, or people who are no longer active members of the club but still remember Jim. It's great to have you here, and let's make this, I said this last week when we first heard the news, we're not going to make this a somber and sad occasion. Jim Plunkett wouldn't have us moping or being sad, but rather to have this a festive occasion and take time to remember him. So the plan was to give everybody just a few minutes to reflect on Jim and what he meant to them. Although with the outcome we have today, it might take one thing Jim didn't know how to do was mute people. So I'll take care of that. All right. So what I want to do is, first off, is there anybody here who is here for the first time, never been to this club before, never met any Toastmasters? Is anybody here for the first time ever? Stuart.
First time ever with Lima Toastmasters. I've been to Toastmasters previously, but I can answer half of that question, not the other half of the question. So yeah, first time here with you guys.
Oh, well, thanks for that, Stuart. I'm going to take a wild guess about where you're from. But just to let you know, this is a very special occasion, and a member of our club who was Toastmaster for somewhere around 60 years, if I will, 40 plus years. He had been a club member for a long time. He passed away recently. And as you can see, we have an outpouring, including his son, and I believe his daughter is on the way in, unless it's a wild coincidence that her name is Plunkett. But either way, we're going to take this opportunity. What we're going to do is, hello, Giselle, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hi, all. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Giselle.
See everybody
Nice to meet
here.
you. The ones I don't know.
My deepest condolences for you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you all for your presence, just physical and spiritual. Thank you to all.
Okay, well, that's great to see family members here as well, because Jim really was, he really incorporated Toastmasters as a family affair. So it's great to see his actual family here. I would like to read, if I would, our club prepared an arrangement for Jim, and I'd like to read now. Our VP of Public Relations is the one who submitted this. She's unfortunately called away last minute to travel through Europe. We'll get a story when she comes back, but she sent her condolences. And also, I'd like to read this, and then we can move on. It says, the red light just came on. Can you believe that? Sounds like Jim. Today, we say goodbye to a dear friend, Jim, Toastmaster, golfer, piano man, and above all, a kind and joyful spirit. Though the light has gone out, your voice and laughter will echo in every speech, every meeting, every melody. A heartfelt farewell from Lima Toastmasters Club. If I may, I'd like to just, thanks for that. I'd like to start off, and then if you'd like to take a few minutes, it looks like we have 18 people here. Ooh. And apparently Stuart didn't know, but Stuart, you're going to get to know Jim. Hey, Antonieta's joining us too. So we're going to have about 20 people. So I figured if everybody takes 3 minutes, it'll take about an hour. I think that's appropriate. So take as little or as much time as you want, as long as you don't take too much time.
Mike?
We won't have it. Yeah, yes, Margarita.
Okay, I suppose you will conduct a meeting today.
Well, Margarita, you are slated as the Toastmaster, so how about I will I'll make a few comments about Jim, then I'll pass it to you as the Toastmaster, and then you can take it from there.
Okay, that's good.
If that's what you'd like. I don't want to deprive you the opportunity, Margarita. we're so totally going to elect you president next year. Okay, so if I may, when I first joined with Lima Toastmasters, I had been in several clubs before, and then I took a pretty long hiatus from Toastmasters until we got to a point of my connection's a little unstable. To COVID, when meetings were virtual, and I saw I might have an opportunity to join with Toastmasters again. So I was looking at the members, and I see this character named Plunkett. I said, that doesn't sound very Peruvian. In fact, I think the first ever Super Bowl that I watched, the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders won the Super Bowl, and the quarterback's name was Jim Plunkett. I said, I wonder if that's him. I wondered that would be pretty cool, an NFL quarterback living in as an expat. But then I looked into his history. Turns out he was born and partially raised on Long Island, New York. I said, hey, that's where I'm from. That's where I'm from. I said, and after that, he joined the Marines. Hey, that sounds familiar. So did I. Then after traveling around and finding his way, he ended up moving to Peru, where, like it or not, he tried to escape, but he got trapped by one of the locals. She tried to drown him in Lake Titicaca, and they lived happily ever after. I said, wait a minute. This guy is me 40 years from now. I said, I'm either going to like him or confront him. Either way, I need to go visit this club. And so the bond that we formed, and to the very last day, he used to sign off as Corporal Plunkett, and I was a sergeant. So despite the fact that he's me a generation and a half later, he still gave me my due as being a sergeant in the Marines. So how about that? And just been pouring through old emails and old pictures. I had the pleasure of seeing Jim again at our Christmas get-together. We had a good time. My wife liked him instantly. He's just somebody everybody liked. You didn't even have to play the piano. We just had a good time. Okay. So what I'd like to do now, I'm going to call upon probably the best dressed person in the room. And that being, I have to say, I was a little bit taken aback when I saw the name James Plunkett pop up into the waiting room. But of course, this is James Plunkett Jr. So Jim, no pressure, but you've got about 60 years of Toastmasters legacy riding on how well you speak, but no pressure or anything. It's not like we're recording in front of 20 people. Do you have anything to say? The floor is yours. Please take as much or as little time as you'd like.
Thank you so much, Mike. And following traditional Toastmaster introduction, unaccustomed as I am, I've been a Toastmasters, and of course, I keep Toastmasters in my heart. My first club was Lima Toastmasters 3098U. And I came upon it because, of course, my father invited me to a free lunch at the Hostal Beach, which was where they had the meetings. And he said, free lunch, I'm in. So I went there, and after that, I got trapped, enchanted, call it what you wanted, but I learned so much from Toastmasters and speaking in public, thanks in great part to my father and the example that he set. I remember a long time ago when I was maybe in college, I did attend a couple of the meetings they had at the Hotel Bolivar, and that was one of the first clubs where they met. So it was charming. It was great. The dynamics were also friendly and open and spontaneous to a certain point, only for the topic session, of course. The prepared speeches were captivating, great information to get. And little by little, I joined Toastmasters and learned the ropes. I went through my manuals. In the club, I met great speakers. I met great people. I did business with a couple. And in fact, that's how I met Carlos Millones, through Toastmasters and business. After I left Toastmasters in Lima, because I moved to the States, I joined one club, and after a long hiatus, I joined the club at my local job in the DC Superior Court. There, I was able to finally complete my ATM bronze. And that's where I stopped, because then I moved to Tampa, Florida, where there's no Toastmaster club that I have time to join. But I always keep Toastmasters in my mind. I use it at work every day, because it's not only about giving speeches, but also how you present yourself as a professional, how you speak, how you listen, and how you react to others that speak to you. And all of these things were not all written in a manual. I learned a lot of those from my father. And I cherish a lot of good memories about that. But just to kind of wrap up what I think about the experience of being in Toastmasters, on top of that, with my father, we would go to those meeting lunches or even special events and enjoy it and learn, and then apply whatever we learn to our daily lives. And this is one of the best lessons of being in Toastmasters. Now, in terms of my father, he left us with great memories, great lessons. At least I did learn a lot of those things from him. I know that I cannot emulate him well enough ever. I did take up an instrument, the guitar, not the piano. I did take up singing. I did take up a little bit of being funny if I could. I always project a good sense of humor and a smile with people. All of those great qualities I learned from my dad. And it's something I will carry on and transmit to others if I can. I thank you so much, all of you, for this beautiful tribute you're doing for him. And I know that he has been with you for a long time or a short time, but whatever that length of time, I'm sure that he has been able to share something that made you laugh, smile, think, and hope for a better future. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for this invitation and this tribute. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thanks for that, Jim. James, I do appreciate that. And his voice comes through you very nicely. We also have, I believe, Jim's daughter, Giselle. If you'd like to, again, follow that with some comments, it's up to you.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'm definitely not a Toastmaster, so I'll be very short. I wanted to express my thank you to each one of you. Many of you have been present in my dad's mourning, and we have shared many experiences, and we really felt your company and your love to him, because you said many beautiful things that we had never heard before. So we were very happy to share these moments with you. And now that you're in camera, I really thank each one of you for your kind words and your love for our dad. Thank you very much to you all.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Giselle. Very good. Okay, at this time, what I'd like to do, how are we going to break this? Then we'll have our guests who knew Jim speak first, and then our current members can close the show. Margarita, do you want to take over at this time? This is kind of a new thing for us. So
I know that Jimmy is going to leave us because he told us that he had only 15 minutes. I would like to share. You will continue as Toastmaster today, Mike, but I want to share this.
Oh no! You can train them. You can train a black man to be a physician. You can train them to be astrophysicist.
Okay,
no, that's the right audio.
Okay.
You can train them to be a lawyer.
There you have our Jim, because it's our Jim. And he used to show us his photos.
Wait, if I may, the audio.
Where is the sound coming?
I know you're talking about Egypt. Egypt is not Africa. There's Arabic people up there. Here, would you think?
Okay. Sorry about that.
Is it possible to continue?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. I had a problem with my audio. Please continue.
Oh.
I apologize.
Okay, now I would like to. Okay, I have lost. Okay. Yeah. Can you see?
No.
She stopped the share. The share stopped.
Okay. Where are you?
I apologize for that.
Okay. Is it there?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah. Now there is Jim. Since he was so little until the last days, he showed these photos along his speeches. Of course, I have tried to recover most of them, and I would like to say that he was an extraordinary American who arrived in Peru 60 years ago. He lived a full life, enjoying various jobs throughout his life, and he kept practicing his hobbies: golf, singing piano, and photography. And I would like to try on the table the phrase he used to say: Marines are always Marines. And he used to say this phrase talking to Mike. He was passionate about being actively involved in Toastmasters. And I remember, Giselle, you told me that when you were with him, he told you that Toastmaster was his life. He served to this club in several positions. Most of the times he was our president. He will be always our president. And he was so proud about his hole-in-one. And I was so surprised. I don't play golf. When I read this, in golf, a hole-in-one, also known as an ace, occurs when a player sinks the golf ball into the hole-in-one stroke from the tee. This is a rare occurrence with odds estimated to be around 1 in 12,500. Many golfers never experience a hole-in-one in their entire playing careers. Look at, there is Jim. And I suppose how happy he felt because he knew this about to do this hole-in-one, and that's why he wanted to share with us this goal he could achieve in his life. That's all I wanted to say. Please, Mike, continue.
Well, thank you for that, Margarita. That was a beautiful compilation there. Way to put that together. You know, these Plunketts are coming out of the woodwork. It looks like we have a Sean Plunkett. So now you might have heard Jim tell some stories over and over again because you never know who's in the audience. And he said, one day I met somebody else with the name Plunkett and I had never met him, but I do believe Sean Plunkett is somehow related to our honoree today. So Sean Plunkett, how are you? Okay, we'll give you a moment to get yourself situated, sir, and then we've been just paying homage to Mr. James Plunkett and everybody here is for that purpose. So we're going to go around. Anytime you want to unmute your microphone and take your turn, we can do that. Well, I have the great honor now of leading this group, and I'll call upon you individually. So if you're called first or early, you have that prestige. If not, you have the time to think of something to say. So I'm going to call upon somebody I know always has something very sincere to say. It's been a while. And I'm going to call upon Carlos Millones. If you have any comments you'd like to make about Jim, by all means.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Definitely, the only words that come to my mind and memories are always, very positive. I mean, James been a light to all of us, and it's been very many years since I first joined Toastmasters, and I cannot forget, the Hotel Bolivar, the Grand Hotel Miraflores, Libertadores Hotel, and so on and on and on, and all those memories, all those places bring something very special. Not only Jim, but also a different group of people like Robert Jackson, Ed Cavieses, Eduardo Mueller, but among all this group, James was always, the best student of Toastmaster, right? And that's something I want to extract and I want to share with you. He was not only a good Toastmaster, but he was a very studious guy on parliamentary procedure. Why he held this very important? Because he stated that for people to meet successfully and communicate effectively, as we are dealing with groups, we should be effective in the management of groups. And that was parliamentary procedure. Out of order, point of order, and so on and on and on. And even though we had great times, working on that together, but it's not that easy. But that keeps us all working together and never missing the purpose of the session, having the amendments to the main amendments and so on and on. So I want to get not only the very positive experience working with Jim, but also, looking for his way how to educate, so in a way we could channel the energy of the group into a much better outcome. I know he's been probably one of our most distinguished secretaries. He should have all the printings for every session and everyone receive one copy. Some of those I still have. And in the heads, there were people who attended, people who were missing to those sessions, all this, everything that was agreed during the session. What a secretary we had. I recall those moments in which, he delivered speeches, and there were times that there was no program. Raise your hands if you remember those. And right away, he had something to say, right? And he would just not improvise. Improvisation is not that easy. It requires training, but James was always ready for the shot. Back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that, Carlos. Do appreciate that. Yeah, you're always learning on how to make the meetings run better. So very good. How about, I'm going to go by whose camera is on, and how about that, Patricia? You were here very early, so would you like to say something about?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For me, Jimmy was such an amazing person. We are today honoring his memory and the legacy that he brought to us. He was such a truly amazing man. He was, for me, like, he had all this knowledge, commitment. He was a friend. He had this kindness. He was funny, and that smile that he has, his jokes. He always wanted to, going almost borderline, borderline of being correct and incorrect. And it was so joyful to join the meetings every Thursday at this beautiful country club. We had amazing lunch, and he always brought something so interesting. I am a Peruvian, but I have lived most of my life between Peru and the States. So when I met all these people in the group that when I joined Toastmasters, they were like lawyers, engineers, and people with all this knowledge. So it was amazing for me to join. And somehow I haven't been in the group for probably a couple of years. But I'm in the WhatsApp and always talking about him and his music. And so I'm going to tell you a very, very, very quickly story. So when I joined the Toastmasters, it was in 2016. And I just became a widow. So, Jim wanted me to do the icebreaker. Patricia, go. And I'm like, no, because I didn't want to say the word widow. So, I waited, and so I prepared the perfect icebreaker without the W word. So then, of course, it was great. I could go around, without telling the word. So, of course, I said, and I was so proud of myself. I said, okay, I beat him. No, directly he said, okay, so what are you, single or divorced? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So, he always had a way to get to the nitty gritty. He will go and follow you. So today, again, I want to honor his memory. Truly amazing person. They only die when they are not in our memory. He will be always alive for me, and I will always cherish his memory, his you know, the way that he was an amazing, amazing person. Giselle, it has to be a gift to have a father like yours. And for you, for wherever you are, Jim, always with us. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thanks for that, Patricia. I could totally picture him doing that. Very cool. I'd like to call upon, well, Sean Plunkett is back online, microphone working. So Sean, if you'd like to say anything to the group, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Well, very briefly, since many words have been said by all you guys, I've heard the last words just expressed. Very beautiful words. I think there's nothing more beautiful than listening to words from friends, not just colleagues from Toastmasters, but real friends, because this is something that has been going on since he got here to Peru. I understand he came here in 1964, and he immediately wanted to open a Toastmasters club or participate in one if there was one. I think there wasn't one at that time, but still, 1964 until today, that means a lot of Thursdays getting together with all his friends and practicing English and teaching English, because this is for me something like a good practice for everyone who has not had the chance of communicating through English in Peru, and leaving the States and coming to live back here in Peru. And this is definitely a good tool for everybody. And my father was just a great fan of Toastmasters around the world. I only have a little anecdote that happened just last Sunday before last, where we were at the church, the
I'm sorry, Sean, your connection's a little unstable. When you get that situated, we'll give you a chance to tell the rest of that story, and we'll make sure it's in the record. But thank you for that. And the floor is yours whenever you get your technology settled. Believe me, I sympathize. Okay, how about John Navarro? There's somebody I haven't seen in a while. John, would you like to say anything about Jim?
Absolutely, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Yes, I would like to. Oh, I hope you're not counting the obs. That was number one. As I say these words, I like you.
Let it fly. Let it fly. No odd counter today. The word of the day, Jim Plunkett.
Oof. I'll be very careful with the letter S at the beginning of my words. For those of you friends who might not know what this is about, Jim was always trying to help us whenever he was a grammarian. And one of his favorite observations was that many of us, non-native speakers of the language, Spanish speakers in particular, Peruvian speakers in particular, maybe, we struggle a little bit pronouncing the letter S at the beginning of words. You know, we may say a speech instead of speech, or a student instead of student. And Jim would always tell us that, would always help us. Here is my favorite observation. So I'll try to be careful with that. I love what our dear Washington wrote in the group, in the WhatsApp group. He didn't refer to the many things that we have learned about Jim. What he said, more or less, was that Jim became part of us, and he will remain in us until we ourselves depart. That's how I think about Jim. Learned a lot of things from Jim. I'll refer to them. But more than that, he became part of me. Whenever I think that I want to communicate with somebody and I want to keep a smile throughout the conversation, I think of Jim. Whenever I think that I want to be very clear on what I want to say, I think of Jim. Whenever I think about organizing my ideas, well, I think of Jim because this is what he transmitted to all of us. That's what cascaded to all of us. We know all of his many virtues. I'll just like to mention a couple and I'll close. Every Thursday after the meeting, a couple of us would go to a coffee place in Magdalena, right? You know, Archie and Stephen, Jim, and yours truly. And he invited me. He said, John, come on, let's go with the guys. Bear in mind that Jim was the youngest of the other three. Okay. And so there I was with them, having coffee. And that spirit, that welcoming, that inviting spirit, that was Jim. Now, in the conversations themselves, he didn't only invite me to participate, he included me in the conversations. So I was listening and I was thinking what I could say as a Toastmaster. But I was there, a bit quiet, sometimes silent, and Jim would include me in the conversation. So he would make a follow-up comment and then say, right, John, right? I mean, and that gave me the segue to introduce in the conversation. Jim was welcoming, Jim was including, Jim was a man of excellence. And you know our secretary, you know his minutes. Absolutely spotless, so meticulously crafted, amazing. But I think that this is us Toastmasters, and we know he loves Toastmasters. But I think that if it were his colleagues and friends at the Chamber of Commerce talking about him, they would say he was all about the chamber. And if it were his friends in the golf club, they would say he was all about the golf. And if it were his friends at church, they would say Jim was all about the church. Because I believe that he always gave 100% to anything, to everything that he did. Man of excellence. I will not say thank you, because he taught us not to say thank you at the end of the speech. But I will ask you, just in closing, I will ask you, please, please, to open your microphone just for a second, unless you have very high, very loud noises. But if you don't, please open your microphone, and bear with me for a second and repeat with me. Yeah, can you open your microphone, see if it's possible? Please, just for a second. Please repeat with me. Student.
Student.
Speech.
Speech. Good.
Special.
Good.
Special.
He was a special.
Special, yeah, very special
That
person.
is Jim.
He was especially special.
Now you can
Yes.
close the microphone. Thank you. Now you can close the microphone. Thank you. To Jim,
To Jim.
to his memory,
To Jim.
to his legacy,
To
to his
Jim.
great, to
To
his
Jim.
great heart, to his great heart. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, John. That was a very special tribute to Jim. We do appreciate that. Good to see you again.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just thought, why we don't have a pisco sour? Because every time that he said something, he had a pisco sour.
That's on you. We didn't serve any virtual. We can put like a
That's
little
right.
cocktail icon maybe, but we'll see what we can do. Well, thanks for that. Okay, Ed, let's get to, how about Sean? How are we doing on, I heard we had a little thunderstorm out there in Iquitos.
That is true. No, not really. Last night we had a nice storm, but it's just a low signal I have here at the hotel I'm staying. Just to make the story short, I was saying that my father was about to be incinerated, or his body was going to be incinerated at the chapel. And after seeing my mom 20 years before with just a sheet on top and then processing her body, this time we saw our father completely dressed up as a Toastmaster. I say that Toastmaster because he always went with his blue blazer, and he had always his golden pin on his coat. So I saw it through a window and said to the guy, "Hey, stop that! Why is he with clothing? I remember my mom being incinerated without any clothing, just with a sheet. So please stop." So the guy said, "Hey, stop it! Don't continue." So when he came out, I said, "Hey, look, I just saw a pin of my father's side, and I would like to keep that. Can you take it off and give it to me?" "Yeah, sure. Just a second." So he went in, got the pin, and the pin, I thought it was maybe a Am-Cham because he's got a whole collection or had a whole collection of pins. And it finally was a Toastmasters pin as past president that he had on his coat. So I'm keeping that as a nice memory of his participation through so many years at the Lima Toastmasters Club. And just wanted to tell that as a little anecdote that happened during his goodbye that Sunday. No? So otherwise, I want to really thank everybody who's participating today in the Toastmasters meeting. I know there's a space open there, but he's present. I am sure he's present today there with all of us. He will continue being present, and we will miss him very much. Okay, those are some short words from my part. Thank you again to all. I shouldn't say thank you, as your colleague said, but I have to really, okay, from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thanks for that, Sean. And I'll tell you, every time lightning strikes in Iquitos, it's because Jim Plunkett is up there bowling a strike. So you know he's having a good time.
Okay, Mike, thank you.
To finally meet the family and everything. He always spoke so highly of his, I wouldn't say children, but adult children now. Okay, looks like my connection's a little unstable. Gonna have to pass this. I'm gonna call upon Alexandra. Alexandra, would you like to share some in English, not Hungarian this time?
Okay, I will be very proud to use the English that Jim helped me to polish, because when I joined the club, my English was 40%. And I learned a lot. And so I've been very proud of being a Toastmaster. And I didn't meet Jim at the beginning. I met some people at the Marquez Hostel, and then at the Grand Hotel, and Bob Jackson and family, the founder of Lima Toastmasters, was a neighbor of mine. So his daughters are in California, and they are still Toastmasters. At least they were when we celebrated the 60 years. And it was such a nice experience to join the Lima Cricket and meet Jim, because he was awfully dedicated. Amazing, all what he did. It was too much. As a secretary, as everybody has been telling, I learned regularity. He was an example of serious commitment. And I thought, oh my God, why is he so regular, so really organized? And he didn't look like an organized person because he was always laughing. But still, every time we came Thursday afternoon and joined the lunch meeting at the cricket, there he was, giving everybody a copy from the last minute so we could know what happened in the last session. And we learned so many details. Even the grammarian notes were in those minutes. So we learned how to improve our English. And anyway, I think he was like a, how can you say, clockwork. He was a clockwork. I think I can translate that feeling like, I'm a bit Spanglish, but not Hungarian, Romanian. And Jim was always there to give me good ideas. So as a grammarian, Jim was so good when he was a grammarian. And sometimes we completed each other because I started studying grammar to improve my own English. And sometimes I decided, okay, I would try to be a grammarian. And he helped me a lot. So we were grammarians together. And that was something. And I also keep copies of the minutes. 10 years maybe. I saw him printing every Thursday. And then when we tried to celebrate the 60 years and we tried to make changes, no, he was really very stable. He's told us Thursday at 12:30, and that we kept. And so, Jim, we will keep your timetable. Thank you, Jim, for everything we learned. Back to you.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Alexandra. I do appreciate that. And yes, Jim and I always dueled it out of who is the tougher grammarian. I don't know. Tried to be the kinder, gentler grammarian because he was the no. And I was like, take it easy. But the club learned, and that was really important. How about Toti? Apparently, you and Jim, you kind of go back a while, so
Yes.
perhaps you might have a thing or two to say about Jim.
Yes, well, you have already said many things about Jim, and I can say, hello, Jim, distinguished Toastmaster. He worked in Pathways in his projects until the end. 2 months before he was working in Pathways, he was an example. I'll tell you a story. The first time I met Jim was in the Marqués Hostal in San Isidro. I remember that Dr. Cavieses was giving a speech about the perestroika, the glasnost, and I was really confused because I haven't heard that word glasnost, no? And I really was confused about the speech itself and also about the organization of the program. The first time is very difficult. I kept going to the meetings, but one day I decided to quit. It was too much for me. I decided to quit. But when I told Jim I was going to quit, he kindly talked to me and he said, I'm going to be your mentor. I will help you. I will help you. That's where the words help. He always helped everybody. So I stay in the Toastmasters until today. And it was the best decision I took in my life because Toastmasters changed my life. As I always say, I couldn't go to the university because I got married very, very young. But Toastmasters was not only my intellectual universal, it was something much more. The group, the human group, started with Jim and all of you. By those days, I remember Jim's North American friends. Perhaps some of you will recall Ray Michel, Jean Cervantes, John Middens, Robert Jackson, Ralph Cherry, Archie, very nice people. I have enjoyed Jim's friendship a lot. We have been together for many, many, many years, and he used to call me sis, a sister, and I call him bro, as brother. He loved to enjoy life, help the others. He has nice words for everybody. We were very similar, very similar. I will surely miss you, but not in a sad way. You will always will be smiling until the end of the times. Cheers, cheers, dear friend. Enjoy your Heaven Toastmaster session. See you someday, dear bro, in a beach party at heaven. Back to you.
Thanks, Dodi. I guess Jim's the one minding the beach house these days, huh? Very cool. All right. How about Antonietta? Good to see you again, Antonietta. I just got a really kind message from her. Let's hear this. This is a story I've got to hear, Antonietta.
Well, Jim, definitely a very special person, a very special friend. And Jim is always remind me also that we were, together in business as well with Jim. Some things come to my mind now. He was at our wedding, Scott's and my wedding 30 years ago. Time goes by. And I have to say, since we met, he's had quite a ride and has also made our ride more interesting and pour it in with enthusiastic. I have this the Golden Bridge behind me because I think he enjoyed not only connecting to people, but also connecting one to each other. And he was very special in that. And it was kind of natural, a natural speaker, a natural, person that would bring joy to others. And something that comes to my mind is, well, at our wedding, he was kindly, putting in practice one of his passions, taking photos. And still, now the best photos that we have our wedding is the ones that Jim took for us and shared with us later on. I met him at the American Chamber of Commerce. Well, he was involved there. He was one of the directors, and later on he became the GM. And I heard about Toastmasters through him here in Lima. So he's the one who introduced me to Toastmasters, as for so many of your cases. And it was, quite a ride since then. We got to have also some activities together, like when I had the opportunity to have a company and we were having a corporate event, an international corporate event for a Korean company. The name of the company was Gold Star, and subcontracted by McCann to organize this event. They needed a professional master of ceremony. And of course, even Jim had not had that role professionally yet. He had not been hired, but he was so happy and we were so happy when I had the opportunity to hire him as the as the master of ceremony for that event. And with his characteristic enthusiastic, in the middle of a business session or a big business session with Koreans and with people from South America, he used to start the session saying that, calling the study of the session, saying something like goal, like like a goal, like a football goal, soccer goal start, and everybody would light up, something very unusual and something very natural to him that would just start the session in a different way, a business session in a different way. He had that ability to light people's life with a big smile. And I am very thankful that he was, part of my life, and I was a little part of his life as well by these, activities. And we had so much fun about it. We also had the opportunity to work together in putting together a program of Miami, the gateway for the U.S., for the AmCham as well. And then so many others that we share as Toastmasters with you, our beach parties and our, get-togethers, always learning something from him. But I would like to highlight those two things: his spontaneity, how natural he was to touch in other people, to relating with other people, to bringing people together, and his dedication and commitment, his ability to keep on learning and inspire us to keep on learning, no matter what age of his life he was always willing to go a step forward. When we went through the person to the online meetings, there he was learning and inspire others. Always like the challenge of the TM, he was working on it. And I think a way to honor is just like get there as well. You know, most of us make that effort to get there in his honor. He was a very special person, a very special friend. He reached our life until the last, weeks. He had the honor to be given us his present, this big smile and wide open eyes. I think his enthusiasm for Toastmaster and for whatever he did is something we can carry on and make that effort to connect with others and help others, which I think was the essence of Jim. So again, yeah, he'll be in our life, expression of our love. We got to luckily say it, and I think, and share with him in life. And I think that's important. Everything, to give everything back while we're alive. And he will keep, always in our mind and in our hearts. And we'll keep on learning from his memories and from his legacy.
Thanks for that,
Back to
Antoniette.
you.
Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Very cool. Okay, I want to tell you a quick story here. A couple of years ago, I'm online virtually watching the World Championship of Public Speaking, and people are in the chat room before the competition began, and somebody wrote, "Come to our Toastmasters meeting in Dublin. It's open." And I wrote in the chat, "I will be there." And then came to Toastmasters the following Thursday, and Jim Plunkett said, "Hey, Mike, I heard you're going to visit my friends in Ireland." I said, "God, I was just kidding. I didn't mean I was going to do it." But he had his hooks in me. So, well, it just so happens, Jim, I don't know if it's the Plunkett name or if it's the enthusiasm for golf. Either way, we've got a contingency across the pond. So I'm going to give priority to people who have their cameras on, and also to people who've been here and who are kind enough to have me evaluate their speech. So I'm going to begin with Paul Omani. I'm so proud. How's that with the name? Pretty good? Not bad?
Oh, that's fabulous. That's fabulous.
Thank you, Paul.
Jim wouldn't have pronounced it any better. What a man. What a wonderful, wonderful man. I think of Jim most of all as a extraordinary human being. Yes, he was Toastmasters. Yes, he was golf. But every time I spoke to Jim, I felt a great welling up of goodwill and joy within me. I have had an opportunity to have a conversation with Jim on a podcast last March. It's 30 minutes of Jim and myself talking, and mainly the idea was that I was doing my best to get Jim to tell his story. Now, unfortunately, I have to do something that Jim would have told me, "Go off and do it, Paul. You committed yourself to doing it." I have to go to be a grammarian at another club. And I've written a little piece there, and Jim will be alongside me. No more lovable person have I met in Toastmasters. Absolutely. He told me the Rockefeller story. He was so proud of Julia. All sorts of great things about the man. And it was fantastic that we could talk via WhatsApp as if we were next door to each other. So I used to ring him, particularly, well, in the last 18 months. And his voice was just fabulous. Absolutely. I felt like no matter what was going on in the world, I was in the presence of a life-affirming and a life-enhancing person. Thank you all for the love you have for Jim. He truly was and will stay in my memory forever. Thank you very, very much for this opportunity. And forgive me if I have to leave, but there's Jim's voice in the chat, and I think you'll welcome it. I hope you do. But thank you so much.
Thanks for that.
Paul.
Thanks for that, Paul. pardon me for multitasking. I'm going to click that link, then I'm going to hit pause, make sure it doesn't play over this. Oh, it just popped up. But I'm going to make sure I listen once we're done here. Great to see we have Jim's voice. Great thing about Toastmasters, your voice is preserved. Of course, members, you could always go back into the YouTube archives and see when Jim was speaking. Okay, I'm going to call upon Nick. I don't think we've met before, Nick, but if you'd like to pay any kind of tribute, Jim will be our bond here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. President, and everybody here. I'll just say a very few short words because I have other members of Toastmasters for Golf who can actually, you know, we got used to Jim. You never know what would happen when he came on stage, but you know it was going to be fun, and you end up with a big smiley face because he you know, my grandfather used to say that he, you know, that was somebody who let you show your teeth, meaning he made us smile so much. And one of the things that I remember talking to Jim about, I think we were exchanging stories about the hole-in-one, as I think Margarita mentioned earlier on. And, you know, a few of us have got a hole-in-one, and it's a big thing in the golfing world. And it's something that bonds everybody together who are in that little club. And but one of the things about Jim was, hearing all of the things about him today, a lot of things I didn't know. Whenever he came to our club, whenever he interacted with us, we saw a sliver of his personality. We saw a small insight into his life. And the impression that we got, which I think is pretty much right, is a charming man, very kind, softly spoken, always looking for a bit of fun in everything he did, whether he was showing off the pictures of the Lima golf course or whether he was telling us stories about how he came to Peru, all of those kind of things. And I remember very well how he got one of his best friends, who is Willie, his caddy. So all of those things made him very special and connected us, or in my mind, for me at least, to the Lima Toastmasters Club and the Lima Golf Club. And one day, yes, I hope we can get there. Thank you very much for your time. And what a fabulous event this is. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that, Nick. Do appreciate it. Okay. Going to call upon a few of our current members now. And of course, if you'd like to speak, please appear on camera. Where's Ciro? Oh, there's Ciro Bendesu. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello, everyone. First of all, my condolences to the Plunkett family. And the reason we are here is because Jim was a fundamental member of Lima Toastmaster Club. And he deserved a farewell like this one. Lima Toastmaster was his beloved club. And now he's making this miracle to bring everybody together. We wish to have you every Thursday in every meeting. And as many clubs around the world, we are going through this membership crisis. I hope Jim gives us this message to come back together again. I will never forget Jim. I will never forget his stories about the Chirimoya and the Rockefeller stories that made us smile all the time. And we'll never forget him. So thank you, because I think we are honoring Jim Plunkett right now in heaven, and he's going to be with us in every meeting. One of these black windows will be reserved for Jim in every meeting. And if I may, I would like to share the last participation, the last participation of Jim Plunkett in our Lima Toastmaster Club meetings. Please allow me to share my screen, Mr. President.
I believe you have access. Let me have a look here. Yes, all participants may share. Who's that?
Do you see?
You need to share your audio as well, Ciro. Ciro, you need to share your audio. Yeah, Jim. Ciro, you need to share on your share options, share audio. If not, I'm going to dub Jim's voice. So,
But I think that's to be done. That needs to be closed again and open before sharing.
yeah, you go to options, share audio. So you click where it says more. Oh.
A little late today, but not that bad. We also have had a fairly good attendance considering that we're still lacking more members. We were very fortunate to have Kevin come in recently, and then Fernando joined us, and we have two great new members. And we have another gentleman from Cusco, Christian, who's also interested. And I hope that if he presents his application this coming week, we perhaps can swear him in as a new member next week, which would be very good. Well, we had only one speaker today, but it was well worth it because Margarita gave us a very interesting speech about what we should take into consideration as helping other people when we are coaching. That's something that's very, very important, to help others. And then we had our counter who gave a very good report, put it on the screen, and Ghislaine as well, we put her Toastmasters report on the screen. And we had a very good session today, as far as I'm concerned. It was well done, and Rudy had a very interesting topic session for us today. She gave us a real challenge by making us finish off a particular experience. And I was so happy to meet those Toastmasters in that dark little store, whatever it was, there downtown in the middle of the week. So that was very nice. Okay, well, in general, we had a very good meeting. Thank you, all of my assistants today. And it's my opportunity to turn the gavel of authority back to our Toastmaster of the day, Ciro Bendesu. Ciro.
Thank you, Mr. G. Hey, that was the last participation of our friend Jim in this meeting. As you know, we record every meeting in YouTube, and we load those meetings in YouTube, and we can remember and we can share with the one are interested with all these videos. Thank you all of you. Back to you, Mr. President.
Well, thanks for that, Ciro. I was like, should I find some video? So thanks for taking care of that. And appropriately enough, Jim turned the gavel right back over to you. So I do appreciate that. Let's see here. What are some people? Oh, how about Larry Lyons?
Thank you, Mr. President. Larry Lyons here from Ireland, Treasurer of Toastmasters for Golf. And firstly, my sympathies to Jim's family and to all his friends in Lima Toastmasters. Jim joined our club. We have an online Toastmaster for Golf club. We chartered in 2021, and Jim was one of our chartered members. And what I always liked about Jim is his witty way. And as someone mentioned earlier, sometimes he brought it to the edge, but as being a guy that likes a bit of wit myself, I always enjoyed it. And one thing as well is he had very honest evaluations. And I think one of the last evaluations that he gave, he was correcting our grammar, because even though we're an English-speaking country, he used to pull us up because sometimes we wouldn't complete our words fully. And it's not de, it's the. Stuff like that. And never afraid to take on a role either if we were short of someone to fill a position. Always willing and helpful. And of course, he was so proud of that hole in one. He used to show to us on many occasions. And I think one of my favorite speeches that he used to give was the one of the golf course, where he had certain aspects of trees which were images of animals. And he showed us, he gave that speech on several occasions, and I thought that was very funny. And as District 71 parliamentarian, I'm delighted to hear that he was a stickler for rules when it came to meetings. So I'm delighted he was that kind of a person, because I think that's very important. Well-run meetings. And of course, many a time he played the piano at our intervals in our meetings as well, and entertained us. If he couldn't make it in person, he was in the recording. So that we really appreciate that. And it's an honor to have known him. I feel like I knew him all my life over the last 4 to 5 years. So we will miss him in Toastmasters for Golf. And to you, all his friends and his family, God bless you, and thanks for the opportunity to speak here this evening.
All right, thanks for that, Larry. I feel like going to a pub for an Irish wake and sing a little ring a rosy, but we won't go through the whole song. It might take a while. Well, I want to say, we have Martin left a message. I'm going to read for him, and if any of our other guests or members would like to come on camera, you can also speak, no obligation. But I would like to read. This is from Martin Farrell, also from Toastmasters for Golf. It's real simple here. Okay, and from Toastmasters for Golf, and have great memories. Sorry if I don't use my Irish accent. I don't want you to feel patronized. Let's see, I'm Toastmasters for Golf and have great memories of all our meetings together. My one lasting growth point from Jim was he was evaluating my speech. He finished by saying, remember, I think we've heard this already, do not finish by thanking the audience. They should be thanking you for your speech. So finish by handing back to the Toastmaster. Well, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Okay. Now, is there anybody else here? And I know we have some people in hiding. If you want to come on camera or unmute yourself and say anything about Jim. If not, we can. Okay, well, I want to say this while we have this audience. Oh, who just came in to join? David Clinton. Either way. Of course, I want to extend this invitation, especially to Jim's. I don't like to use the word children, but to Sean and Giselle and Jim Jr., who's apparently in court right now, fighting the good fight and standing up for the wrongfully accused. But want to make sure we extend that invitation. We meet at this time regularly with an agenda. We do our best to stick to it. I'll let Jim. And we've been debating as to whether or not to change the start time of the meeting. We're not going to debate that now. Just letting you know it's in the works. So if it's the time that's inconvenient, there will be further discussions later on. So it's great to have this kind of attendance. There's no reason why we can't have a full meeting with 3 speakers and nobody taking on multiple roles like we do now. So it'll be you heard Jim talk about membership. That was his dying wish, is more members. So honor his legacy and join the club today. Do we have anybody else who'd like to come on camera and make a statement or a comment or play the piano? You know, my wife just came home a little bit early. I told her that we were paying homage to Jim, and she gave one of these. And she doesn't want to come on camera right now, but she wanted to extend her well wishings as well. And she only met him once, and she was that touched by him. Oh, well, appropriate to Toastmasters for Golf. David Clinton, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Hi there. How are you doing? I'm sorry that I'm late coming to the meeting this evening in honor of Jim. I just want to say I spent the last 9 holes trying to get a hole in one for him, but I guess I'll have to play for another 10 or 20 years before I'll equal Jim's record. Jim was a fantastic guy, and quite frankly, he'll be sadly missed. We used to joke that we were cousins because the Plunketts and the Clintons were related. The big one being to St. Oliver Plunkett. And I always said to Jim that there was a bit of a saint in him. So it's my honor and pleasure to be at your meeting this evening to pay tribute to Jim Plunkett, a great friend and a fantastic member of Toastmasters for Golf. We had planned to actually travel to Lima next year to meet Jim and to play around at his favorite golf course. So sadly, it wasn't to be. But thank you for honoring him this evening.
Thanks for that, David. And we'll you might have to play a threesome when you come over here. Make room for
I hope so.
You have a little scavenger hunt, find all the little animal shapes in all the trees. So very good.
Yes, one of his favorite topics of discussion, strange creatures on the golf course.
Yes.
It's your turn to be the strange creature.
He gave us the 10th updated version of that at our international speech contest in March. But that, unfortunately, was the last time we spoke.
I'm glad it was over something pleasant. So very good. And thank you for that. Well,
No problem. Thank you. My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We'll be happy to welcome you here when you do arrive. I saw Janet Velez briefly pop on camera. Janet, would you like to? Hey, Janet.
I think, well, what to talk about him, many things. Since the very beginning, the first time I met him in the first session, I was invited to participate in Lima Cricket. I have a friend that approached me so familiar. So he made me feel
hello, I'm Stacy. Thanks for visiting.
And also make me feel that I can belong to an interesting club that will make me grow as a person. And he did it. I met him almost more than 30 years ago, and I could see he was, and up to now, he was the pillar stone of Lima Toastmaster Club. And I hope that we all make the effort to come together again in another meeting and make him stay for with us forever. Dear Jim, I miss you. We will miss him correcting us, saying student instead of a student, or on the other side, I mean, and also the Christmas parties when he played the piano and those beautiful Christmas songs that make by himself, and many other interesting and beautiful moments we passed with him, making some fun on the shoes of Patricia.
Yes,
Also.
yes, I remember.
I was going to make that comment, and I said, I don't know if it's appropriate. I better
yes, yes, I know he make us feel a lot of things, like a father, like a friend, like a brother, like everything, like a family. That's it.
Okay. Thanks, Janet. Don't strain yourself. We understand. And thank you for that. Okay, well, I just got to, as we go off, I would like to make an announcement. I'm going to read this. It came through from Giselle, and if you want to add any comments, Giselle, you can. But the mass for the first month after the passing of Jim will be on Monday, June 9th at 7 o'clock as Parroquia Santa Maria Reina. That is Avenida Los Conquistadores. What district is that, Giselle?
San Isidro.
Not Isidro, okay, gotcha. So we're, you know,
You're all
it is,
invited.
yeah.
Thank you.
Margarita, can you put that out for everybody? You sent it to me. Can you just say we can put that out to the group? So if you'd like to gather for a mass and we can all see, and Jim is gonna send the family jet over to Ireland. So if you're Toastmasters for golf, we just hop on over that way.
I'm sorry, I will miss it. I will not be there that night.
That's okay, understandable, but just let her know that that is an occasion where we can also honor Jim. But we'll let the priest do the talking. So it's a great way to honor if you'd like to go. Open invitation. Well, I believe that's all the comments, and I really want to say I'm touched by so many people coming back to honor Jim Plunkett. It was always a good time. I'd log in, and there's always a challenge to open up the meeting before Jim got there. He was always the first one there. And we always made a point not to talk business right away, but to just have a conversation. It's a great way to get started. Yes, Margarita.
Mike, is it possible you read the message you prepare to go outside the flowers we sent to Jim? The message was so great, and not everybody could go to see the
Okay.
flowers.
Well,
The message you have
certainly.
at the back.
You got it. What I'm going to do is I am going to spotlight myself. Hey, how about that? And here it is. And thanks to the picture and thanks to the wonders of Canva, we can see Jim Plunkett sipping a pisco sour in the background. As you can see, the red light just came on. Can you believe that? If you know Jim, you heard him say that a couple of times. Today, we say goodbye to a dear friend, Jim, Toastmaster, golfer, piano man, and above all, a kind and joyful spirit. Though the light has gone out, your voice and laughter echo in every speech, every meeting, every melody. A heartfelt farewell from Lima Toastmasters Club.
Beautiful.